And welcome everybody to State of the Onion, episode 2 of series 4. And I'm going to pass it straight over to Brian. Welcome everybody, our esteemed guests, Brian, Fabio, Nick, and Headless. Welcome very much to you all, and everybody out there in TV land who doesn't have a TV. So over to you, Brian, to introduce the.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Yes. Good evening, everybody, and hello, Nick. Hello, Fabio, Headless, Simos. I'm going to. I've prepared a few words, so I'm going to pull them over here, so I'm not looking off to one side and being rude. But yes, our title this evening is "Contemplating Comets of Doom." Do myths and ancient manuscripts have any value at all? Well, tonight we're casting our eyes skyward, obviously, not in awe of beauty, but in the shadow of dread. For millennia, comets have slashed across the heavens like fiery messengers of doom. Ancient cultures trembled at their appearance, interpreting these celestial bodies as omens of disaster, divine wrath, or the heralds of irreversible change. However, our conversation today isn't just about cosmic debris. It's also about the stories, manuscripts, and myths. The ancient texts carved into stone, whispered across generations, etched into clay tablets, and preserved in the quiet corners of libraries. These ancient narratives may lack the precision of modern scientific inquiry, but might they offer us something else? Coded cultural memory, metaphorical insights into ancient mindsets, and maybe also cosmic warnings wrapped in cultural allegory? Whether these qualities amount to an enduring wisdom or simply historical curiosity is part of the question. Myths can illuminate the psychological and social frameworks of their time, but they can also obscure, distort, and entrench ideas that no longer serve us. Their value may not lie in their literal claims, but in the interpretive space they open, inviting reflection, critique, and dialogue. So, do these myths and manuscripts still matter today? Do they teach us something beyond superstition that is worth preserving? So let's not simply assume that antiquity implies either relevance or irrelevance. Let's instead consider whether the fears and fascinations of the ancients still echo in our modern quest for cosmic patterns and our preparedness for what they might bring. And I have a few potential avenues of discussion, which obviously we're freeform, so we may or may not stick to them, but I'll offer them up to you. Symbolism and survival. How did societies use myths to interpret natural phenomena and cope with existential fears? Do these myths reveal deeper truths about psychological resilience and cultural unity? So I've got a few more, but I think we'll start with that one. So symbolism and survival. How do societies use myth to interpret natural phenomena? Go. Anybody want to kick us off? Are you still trying to make sense of the garbage that I just spewed?
I'm muted. That of course that's a good place to start, I guess, because this of course is a scene from the Bayeux Tapestry.
Yes.
Of course, that was famously done by nuns who were in the church in Bayeux, which is in modern day France, and that was all to do with the defeat of King Harold and the
Norman conquest.
The Norman conquest, exactly. So and that is the comet up there, allegedly, a comet seen at around that time, which you're saying is Halley's Comet. Is that right?
I believe it is
Fabio?
Halley's Comet, yes.
Yeah,
Simus?
it should. Yeah, it should be. It should be
Uh,
the early comet in and around the year 1000.
Okay.
And the writing over there, it's in Latin. It says, "Isti mirant stella." They're watching the star.
They're watching the stars. They are. And you see the people there pointing.
Yeah.
Except they're not all watching the stars, obviously, because there's that one guy looking at the crotch of the third guy on the left.
Yeah, so he's
So,
obviously leching.
there you
There
go.
might be a star there. You never know.
There you go. That's the Normans for you. What can you say?
Bloody French.
Yeah, and obviously that has, that the Bayeux Tapestry, as I say, is about the fall of King Herod, getting shot in the eye by a Norman archer, and that heralded. So they say the comet heralded the complete cultural shift in I would say Britain, but I would say England and Wales for that time. And of course, it was a huge change in our culture, right? For many different reasons, not just the age of castles began.
We went from the age of Robin Hood to the age of Catweasel.
Okay, there's some obscure TV references for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, cosmic debris you mentioned. So
yes, cosmic debris.
That's a Zappa reference there. So I did get that, Brian. Well, anyway, there you go. So yeah, obviously there's huge cultural symbolism, preserved in the ancient manuscript. That is. I'd like to welcome Captive Dave as well, Captive Desk.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you very much for coming by.
Yeah, I had to hop in the shower real quick. I was working outside and I had to take a shower, so I was running a few minutes late.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. While you were working outside, did you see any comets or harbingers of doom?
No, I had an ant problem. They were biting me, but I guess you could call them evil or something.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, over to everybody else. So symbolism, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, the symbolism. Yep. And I think ants can be considered harbingers of doom.
I mean, in history, the cultural point about the culture is like ubiquitous almost, isn't it? I would say. Certainly, I think there was some sky type stuff when Rome was founded. It wasn't just the two walls, was it?
Fabio, you're our Italian expert. The Romans were Italian, I believe.
Are you there, Fabio?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, beginning of Rome. Did that have any?
He's playing Angry Birds on his phone, isn't he?
Yeah, it's doing something.
The what? The what of Rome?
Yeah, the start of Rome. Romulus and Remus and the wolf, and were there any?
Could you give us a brief history
of the sky?
Just give us a brief history of Rome, if you could, please.
Of the whole Roman Empire.
Yes,
that's
please.
what you asked. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought you were friends, Nick.
In a nutshell.
No fucking idea what happened. I mean, I don't know your money. Thing. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay,
well,
let's reframe the question. Fabio, are you, as an Italian, aware of anything in Italian culture that goes way back, maybe around about the time of the Roman Empire, where comets or other stellar cosmic debris feature in your culture? The way that we have Halley's Comet and the Bayeux Tapestry, for example, that Simus just gave us.
No, not specifically to comets or stuff like that. I mean, I guess that there have been, I mean, people used to watch, to look at the sky for all kind of signs and stuff, but I don't recall
ancient
anything
Rome
specific.
is rife with that sort of that.
I don't know much about comets and things. That's I mean, there are myths, the stories, the story of how Rome was founded. With Romulus and Remo and female wolf and all that stuff. But that's kind of, I mean, every ancient society at a certain point they have to make up a story of how they were born. And that was as good as any. So yeah, I mean, I I don't think there was too much symbolism behind that, rather than the fact that there was a common story everybody could gather around, and commit to that and say, oh, okay, that was our starting point. Yeah, good, and then you carry on. But I don't think it wasn't something uh, that was built as in order to become a myth. You know what I mean? It was just a starting point. So yeah, I mean, our city, was founded that way. That's the myth, the history, and whatever. And let's carry on doing stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
I
Is
think
there anything notable in Canada, Headless? Culturally speaking, that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. That would be
Nick and Dave, I'm going to be asking you the same question.
I
that
know.
would-
Why would you? ask about
nothing
Canada?
celestial that I know of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick?
too
Sorry.
cold.
Why don't
Oh,
you
it's
tell
okay.
us the history of the old colonization of the U.S., starting from the Vikings, and come getting to Trump? Explain to us how the myths and things, fall into that, please.
To be fair,
Listen.
actually, I could probably do that in about 5 minutes. We're about 200 years old. If you're going to go back to the Vikings, and
Yeah,
you're going to go back
you're
to
right.
the Peter
I mean,
Erickson, maybe.
Cool. That's
They-
5 minutes
they
of
found
content. Nick,
They found
go
in
ahead.
Newfoundland. They lost it, and then 200 or 400 years later, Columbus comes along and says, "Hey, I found India."
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have a point. I mean, I've lived in houses that were older than the U.S., so yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I got, and as to our legends, it's like one of our presidents when he was a kid chopped down a cherry tree. That's really about it. But I think so. I think when you look at legends, you're going to see. It's been a long time since I've read what's his name, Joseph Campbell, but you're going to see two biggies and then a third that we're talking about now. The first one is fear of death. Second one is fear of the dark. Third one is fear of the sky. And the reason we're afraid of the sky is because things do come out of the sky from time to time and kill us, like lightning, stuff like that. The sun can actually still be rather intimidating, even though we need it. And the dark is definitely intimidating, and we have no dominion over there. We have absolutely no dominion in the sky. We do now, but back then it's like how high up is it? Where does it? We know nothing about it. The Earth we know something about because we tread upon it. So I do think you're going to see a lot of that, and I think you see that in the Greeks, Romans. Again, not an expert, but the chariot that pulls the sun across that's as good an explanation for why the sun goes as any. And Hitchens had said, and I think this is true, and this doesn't answer any of the fundamental question, but I'll say this and I'll get to the basic question. But Hitchens said we prefer a bad answer to no answer at all, and these were our first attempts at coming up with an answer for why the sun moves, an answer for why we die and what happens when we die, an answer for why, and how we got here. So I know full well I'm not saying anything that everybody here doesn't already know. So the question is, does it still hold value now that we have answers to these things? And I think seeing how we got to where we are and what our first attempts were has its own value. I think there's a value to saying, look, we really did believe the Earth was flat. here's why we believed it, and it makes sense if you look at what we had at the time. And I think looking at the Greek myths and understanding the differences in cultures and gods. Why is it that I think somebody had pointed out that Greek gods were basically more like men, and those gods were made in the image of man, where in Christianity man is made in the image of a perfect God. So you've got these two very different dynamics. And what does that tell you about our hopes and dreams and aspirations, and what can we learn from the time? So I think there's always going to be some value there in that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
usually the pantheon of the Greeks was more developed in order to tell stories. I mean, Greeks in general were great storytellers. I mean, I don't have to name anybody. While, for example, the Romans, uh, the Romans god were more functional, if you get what I mean. They had the god of this, and that, but they were more functional. They were not really related. So yeah, in a way, the first part of what you said, trying to give an explanation to what happened, resorting to something that, listen, I don't know, so must be a chariot running in the sky. That was more a mechanical explanation rather than while on the contrary, the again the Greeks, the gods were used to tell great stories. They were just they were a tool, in order to tell brilliant stories and all that stuff. The concept of the Deus ex machina, is typical Greek in their plays. So yeah, there is that. The funny thing is that um, usually those myths, they become they're not a problem when they are born, right? I mean, they become a problem when some crackpot later on assign too much value to that things, right? And
You mean
this
when
is
we
this
know
is
better?
what?
You mean when we know better and the crackpot
No, no,
goes
no,
back
no,
to
no,
the
no,
old
not
wisdom?
not necessarily, not necessarily.
Okay.
When just some crazy idiot, assign some value. So yeah, of course, the comments, and then the astrology is born, and all this shit, which, I mean, wasn't really part of the old history, at least not in that way, right? I mean, it was usually used to tell a story. Of course, even the Romans had the auspici, which tried to figure out the future from the intestines of the animals and all that stuff, but that were not really taken into serious consideration.
Just as an interesting side note, did you know that the ancient Greeks were one experiment away from having having evolution off pattern?
One experiment away from having evolution. What?
Having an explanation for evolution, or rather, having evolution as an explanation. And that experiment was the fish head under a bell jar. So you've got two fish heads, one that's open to the air and another that's under a bell jar. And flies lay eggs in the one that's open, and they don't under the bell jar. And that explains where maggots come from, because they believed that maggots were spontaneously created as a part of decomposition.
Oh.
And that experiment would have disavowed them of that notion, and with everything else, they would have had a working knowledge of evolution.
They were quite strange, though, the Greeks.
They were
right?
very, very
Yeah.
smart, the
Because
ancient Greeks.
well, you say smart, but
Yeah.
you say smart, but
Yeah, but all that knowledge was
Aristotle. Hang on,
cast away.
hang on. I can't get it out if I can't get it out. I say you say smart, but of course, I mean Aristotle, famous for the lagoon, right? Aristotle's lagoon, and
Yeah.
dissecting electric eels. I think was one of the things he dissected to find out why it gave such a sting. and he found this, whatever the organ was that creates the electricity. But at the same time, he said that women had a different number of teeth to men. And he never thought to look inside Mrs.
And count them.
Aristotle's head to find out and count them. So, I mean, smart is one thing, but, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and they couldn't figure out how
I just want to
worked.
welcome Witch Doctor as well.
Hey,
Yes, I was going to do that a
Really
moment
good to have
ago.
you on
Yes.
today.
Good evening, sir. Welcome.
yeah, thanks. It's funny y'all are talking about like the Greeks. If you look through like any of Dioscorides' work or PGM, and you look at the magic spells and stuff, and this, what do myths and ancient manuscripts have any value at all? They kind of have there's been this second wave lately where people are trying to learn ancient Greek, and it's probably been spawned from a couple of channels that had drawn a lot of questions. But they had a lot of hocus pocus back then too. Some stuff worked.
Yeah.
And, some stuff definitely make you see the other side, and then some stuff was absolutely just
Yeah,
crap.
but I mean that's kind of the same today. Some of it's good, some of it's trash.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, I'd go so far as to say that the vast majority of it today is trash, and you have to dig through an awful lot of trash to get the gems. And I would hazard that that's probably no different when you go digging through ancient manuscripts. A lot of it's going to be trash, but there is going to be gems in there.
I'm sorry. What do you mean when you said some stuff works, some stuff don't? What you were referring to? I think I missed something of it.
So you have like back in the day, back during the ancient Greek, when ancient Greek was sort of the language of the lands, but different empires have come and gone. And there's different magic rituals and spells, and some of them are completely like Miss Cleo style palm reader type of spells where there's no real significance to what you're getting out of it. And then from an anthropological standpoint, and then there are some rituals where you walk away different, and it's more than likely related to just some of the ethnobotany back then. But then there was some stuff that was just, like, let's rub snakeskin on our forehead. Like, unless there's some venom in there or something, I don't know what that's really going to do for them. But it's part of a magic ritual, So there's
an excellent
defoliant. There's really things that we call magic, but it's really just like a hallucination or a psychedelic experience or something. That feels like
that's going to be life-changing,
compared to...
No, Witch Doctor, look, at this point, some guys got you convinced to rub snakeskin on your forehead. Everybody's doing it. You better go along with it and just keep your mouth shut and walk away.
Right.
Well, that's exactly right, because of
Don't
course
rock the boat.
That's exactly right, because Pythagoras, right, an absolute genius of his time, killed somebody for saying that the number of the square root of 2 was indivisible, right?
Was irrational.
Was irrational. Yeah, thank you.
Irrational.
And he literally drowned someone over that.
Holy,
Not only that, he said, never eat beans. Never eat beans. Beans are dangerous. And then a third one, which is my absolute favourite, is never cut a whole loaf of bread.
Never cut.
And
Wow.
how do you ever get into it?
Who knows?
You break it.
Yeah,
Now you can
must
cut
be.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
Who knows exactly what he meant by that? But
I want to ask Witch Doctor, were you trying deliberately there to impugn the integrity of Miss Cleo?
You know what? I'm sure that if somebody was emotionally desperate enough, that even somebody like a call-in or 1-900 number would be enough to get you through the day. And not to poke fun at anybody that would ever use it for such, but I don't know. We have the title of myths and ancient manuscripts have any value at all? I think they do. I think they do. Now we do have the Miss Cleos, we have the gypsies, maybe even horoscopes, things in the realm of it's hard to really quantify it down at our level. But then we have, maybe even perhaps people in our chat today, people who have done some of the same stuff from those ancient manuscripts, just in a newer setting, because we're in the 20th, 21st century for our lifespans. And I think that there is some value to that. Finding any of that in the old manuscripts, I think I've benefited from it some, just in feeling as if I'm not really doing something wrong if I were to participate in a psychedelic experience, if I mentally needed it after war. And being a war veteran, I can say that reading all of this old stuff about them doing these old theory acts and stuff did give me a little bit of confidence in having my own experiences. And because of that, I did feel some healing to a degree. And y'all have probably had your own experience to know what I'm talking about. So, and the audience too. So,
I think people today, you were mentioning there's a resurgence of studying ancient Greek and all these kind of things. Yeah. There seems to be a mystique that's held around ancient manuscripts and everything. And yeah, you can find, let's say they found something in there, somebody solved a math problem or cured something or whatever, and then they leap to, well, then everything else they said must have had some value too. And we know now that, well, all that other stuff didn't have any value. Sure, somebody may have figured out some math or how the stars move and these things, but we know so much more now. And going back to what somebody said thousands of years ago as some kind of ultimate wisdom is a problem. Although a lot of people, especially when religions, think that, well, if somebody said it, thousands of years ago, they must have known better than us somehow. And that's where you fall into the problem of, I say, I'll grant you they figured out some things, but that doesn't mean that you should follow everything in there, including, like you said, witch doctor, some cures and stuff. It's like the Bible says, do away with a bird and take another bird and sprinkle the blood, and that cures what we assume to be leprosy, because that was a big problem in the day. It says skin afflictions, but we know that doesn't do any good. Neither does rubbing alligator dookie on it or anything else. What worked was the 20th century when we finally got antibiotics and steroids. That's what actually worked. So yeah, there can be some value looking through it, but yeah, I think Brian may have said it. There's a lot of trash in there, and you have to pick through a lot of it to find a few things that they might have gotten right. Well, we can go to modern science and math and everything and get those same answers. So, what's it worth? Maybe just as a class on look at how we used to think these things and now we know better. I think that's the only value it has.
Well, I do think there's some amnesia, like Matthew 12, 1-8, or Luke 6, for example, talks about Jesus and his disciples going through the fields of grain, picking the heads of the grain and eating them. There's different theories about trying to find some hidden symbolism within the text. For example, if you're a war veteran, you're dealing with PTSD, and somebody were to suggest something, and you're like, you know what? I don't know how I feel about that. And it's like, well, what if I said Jesus and his disciples were, doing the same thing? It's like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, they have different scenes in the Bible where there's, visions, and there's what looks like psychedelic experiences. It's like, well, how do you know what they were doing? It's like, well, I don't know. There's verses that talk about eating the tops of grain. Well, you don't really eat wheat. Like, you don't pick it up and just eat it off the top of the grain like that. But there is a fungus that grows on there that ironically just so happens to be what we call LSD today.
I think it's called ergot.
Yeah, ergot. So it's kind of like, you have to eat around the psychedelic fungus in that scene. And then, of course, the Pharisees get mad. So you're doing what you're not supposed to do. And he said, did you remember David when he was with his guys and they were hungry? We ate the consecrated bread, which we're not allowed to have. For the kingdom of heaven is here. And so if a war veteran was like, I don't know if this is going to go against my religion. And it's like, well, perhaps your religion was using things like this also. And if that helps that war veteran go and have this experience, and then he can heal from the post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever, then I would see some value in studying these ancient texts and finding those little breadcrumbs of the past. Because after all, the visions, the touching the cloth, the revelations itself, just all the passages that we cover on my channel, they could be interpreted as that.
It's interesting to see. It's interesting to see that some cultures have more gems than others, right? So this, I mean, all jesting about the Greeks, Fabio. The Greeks have a lot of gems hidden in their mythos. Even the stranger stories, like I don't know, what's the one I'm thinking of? The trip up to the Black Sea to find the Golden Fleece. Jason and the Golden Fleece. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a few in there as well about sailing and about getting around the ancient world and how to do that, again using stars, etc. So there's even in the sort of weirder myth, shall we say, there are some gems there. But of course, when it comes to the Middle Eastern culture, right, that one in particular that we're referring to, there's so little, right? There is so little like gems to be found in there. The only one I've ever found personally is the one about before you prepare your meat, wash your hands.
Right.
That's it, right?
Well,
And
one of the things you got to remember about the ancient Greeks.
Hang on a minute. Let me finish. Okay. Let me finish. And one of the things about that particular one is that Jesus repudiated that particular rule. Right. So the Jews got it right, and then Jesus came along, the alleged, sky father of the imagination, and repudiated it. Right, when in fact that was closer to the actual truth than what he actually said afterwards, which is it's not what comes into your mouth, it's what goes out of your mouth that makes you that makes you ill. So like
Mark 7, Mark 6.
I couldn't tell you exactly what it is because I just quote shite. But like like I'm saying, so and the Babylonians culture as well, they have a lot of extra things, right? They were stargazers, and I believe Ptolemy used the Babylonian data that they had collected for like 140 years to try and make some predictions about the solar system. So there are some real gems there, not just slight gems, but real gems.
But
go ahead.
I think that it all depends where they come from. I mean, what we should not forget is that all those stories are the equivalent of today's, I don't know, shows like Cats or or movies, stuff like that. There is no, there is literally no difference. I mean, you can watch a nice movie. I mean, you can watch, I don't know, Otto Mezzo from Fellini or whatever, and you can find, some interesting snippets over there, not only of how people behave, but some, moral values and all that stuff. I think that, what you pointed out, it's interesting, but I think we got to take into consideration the kind of society that those stories come from. Usually, a society like the one in the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Chinese, Japanese, the Romans, all the stuff, they're more city centric, so they have a huge conglomerate of people, and of course they already satisfied most of the basic needs for most of the population, and of course you spend time into amusing people. People gather together and they tell stories in front of a glass of wine or whatever. I mean, if you're running in Siberia trying to chase a bloody rabbit, because you want to feed, you don't really stop too much, and telling yourself stories. I mean, that's why, for example, from that part of the world, there are not so many coming up, like there was some, like the Ataman, from in Siberia, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't recall any big story from the German Goths or even the Gaul in France. So I think that we got to really see where they're coming from, and keeping in mind that there were stories made for the amusement of the people, right? We give what I'm saying is that we try to. The funny thing is that when people try to give to read too much into it, that not even the people that made the stories actually put into it.
Yeah.
One of the
I want to
one
bring
of
in
the
Nick, if I may, Brian, because he hasn't had a
Okay.
thing. And then also I want to welcome Marcel. Thank you very much for coming on again, Marcel.
Yes,
Pleasure to
hi
have you here.
Marcel. But before,
Sorry,
before we
I'm
do,
quite
I
I'm
just
quite
have a-
scared because I
No problem,
think
no
that
problem.
these I'm quite scared because I think that this evening me and Nick we are gonna agree too much on too many things. That might be a sign of the impending doom. But yeah, carry
There's
on.
a
I was
quick
going to say,
point I wanted to
like
make
100
about
years.
the ancient Greeks, following on from what Simos was saying about them. You have to remember about the ancient Greeks is that they were huffing a lot of volcano gases.
Some
At
of them,
least,
yeah.
at least the women that they considered wise were.
Yes.
So that's all I wanted to say about the ancient Greeks.
They were blasted all the time.
Yeah,
It's from,
yeah,
well,
and those volcano fumes, they can be lethal, man.
And you don't even have to go with drugs or anything like that. The Bible
no.
mentions a lot of fasting, and if you don't eat,
Yeah,
you can trip
fasting.
pretty good too.
Oh yeah, 3 days of darkness. I mean, there's they've really experimented, and y'all have seen all the material on like other cultures doing the same stuff, fasting and extreme blood loss. Things I would never have the balls to do, but things.
Well,
that
the Quran tells you not to drink water all day when you live in the desert. I mean, that's not a good idea either, you know?
I don't know if I got what it takes, but dude, guys, I appreciate it. We're doing parent teacher night tonight, but I wanted to jump on and say hi to everyone. I had a blast, and I'll try to make it on to the next one.
Thank you very much. We're stoked. A pleasure
Good
to
to
see you.
Look
Have a good night.
Hey, Marcel, don't go too hard on him, all right, bud?
Well,
Go.
Thank you very much. Bye. Over to you, Nick. What were you going to say there?
Two things. First was I really did like what Fabio was saying, and at first it made me laugh because 1,000 years from now, there's going to be a show. Somebody's going to be on. He's going to say, "Okay, so is there anything to be gleaned whatsoever from the Marvel DCU? Can we learn anything about the
right?
Americans
that's
by
exactly right.
looking at that?" And it's just sort of like, no,
Exactly what happened.
that's a bad idea.
Yeah,
But
well,
a lot of
somebody would
those
say
stories are just retelling of ancient tales anyway.
there will be someone, and you know this, Nick. There will be someone that goes, "Well, New York was a real place."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So therefore, Gotham City was.
Well, and therefore Spider-Man and the others and the other.
It's gonna be worse than that. There'll be some people saying, "See, the ancient had advanced technologies that we are just getting right now." I mean, that's gonna be the
Spiderweb.
It's going to be worse than that. If they say Gotham is real, they'll go, "Well, there was this guy on the internet called Mr. Batman, and he had a lot of very good ideas."
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
and I also I had an example. I can't remember it now of one where we realized we profoundly misinterpreted a Greek text. The only thing I can think of now is a much more contemporary. It's Catcher in the Rye, where Salinger has always gotten very upset because he's like, no, people misunderstand Holden Caulfield and they make him out to be this heroic character, and that was not at all what he intended. And the idea that we can take a parable and put it on its head. The other one is, of course, I personally think that the fable of the boy who cried wolf has been misinterpreted. The obvious interpretation of the boy who cried wolf is never tell the same lie twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. I always saw it that way.
Yeah.
Yep. So I've been going through a couple of videos recently where they've been talking about manuscript interpretation of the Gospels, etc. And there's so many other ideas out there about misinterpretation of the Gospels, and mainly to do with combining gods. This is the one I've been going through recently.
Ooh.
So there was a Roman god called Sol Invictus, I think. Sol Invictus. Anyway.
Yeah, man, he's Mithras. Mithras, Sol Invictus, yeah.
Yeah, and they had the celebration day on the 25th of December. Of course, it was the idea of being, of course, it's the winter solstice. And so, that is somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for? That's somewhat similar, right, to Jesus. And maybe the early Christians in Rome just said, look, it's going to be easier to convert people to Christianity if we make his feast day on the same day as.
I thought that was generally accepted knowledge.
I don't think it
Constantine.
is.
That was
No, I don't
yeah,
think
that
it
was
is.
the Council of Nicaea under Emperor Constantine. They made a whole bunch of concessions both to the pagans and to the Christians. Now, it was only a small Christian sect that actually believed that Jesus was the Son of God, and that was the biggest concession, where he said, we'll make Jesus the Son of God if you move his birthday over to the solstice.
Yeah, the 25th. Yeah, they assimilated a bunch of pagan traditions for that exact reason, to help usher pagans into Christianity.
Yeah, I was going to say Easter is a very similar story.
Yeah. And Dennis R. MacDonald, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of his work, but he cross references the, what are they called, the Gospels to Homer's work, and some sections are almost line for line copies. It's like Odysseus slept, then it's Jesus slept, and then Odysseus went and had a meal with his men on a ship, and then it's like Jesus went and had a meal with his men on a ship. It's very similar and inspired, and I think the Gospels were almost like a writing down of a stage play that was probably performed at the time, say like Euripides' Bacchae or something, inspired by that.
Ties into what Fabio was saying.
Yeah. He's right. Fabio's right. It's and it has all the hallmarks of Greek plays. Like in Greek plays, they repeat things twice, like holy, 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 and you find this all throughout the. I think in the New Testament, maybe not the Old. I'm not that well read up on the Old Testament.
And 2,000 years later, you get Christian Zionism, where basically everyone wants to start World War III so that Jesus can come back. That's an example of maybe not interpreting it properly.
No.
Yeah, that's missing the line in Revelation that says this is metaphorical.
There's a cool book written in the 90s called the Museum of the Mysteries, and it's about an archaeological group 4,000 years from now who find a motel underwater, and they think like the throne is their worship place where they watch the gods on the screen in front of the toilet and shit. Like the toilet is like the throne that they worship on, and it alludes to what you guys were just talking about, misinterpreting the things of the past, right? And projecting the present onto what you think the past is. I guess you would call that.
That's a good point. Yeah, we do. We it's one of the things back in the day that I just kept picking up on in discussion after discussion after discussion, is how many people were going at these ancient texts with a modern mindset and just projecting their modern way of thinking onto what they were reading and sort of bringing that to the discussion. And it's like, no, you have to forget all of that shit. You have to put yourself into the mindset of the person who doesn't have a TV, who doesn't have an iPhone, who can't, walk into a library and look up look up the latest data set from whatever satellite, blah blah blah. You just couldn't do that. You have to literally, your world has to be, okay, I'm going to get up this morning in my hut, I'm going to tramp across the sand to my boat, I'm going to get in there in my sandals and my my coarse weave clothes, go out, fish all day, with a net that I made myself, and then I'm going to have a discussion with my buddy John about what fishing experiences he had that day. And then you have to think, okay, now this is the guy that wrote or that is telling us this story. And you have to really put yourself into that mindset, and you have to more or less be back 2,000 years ago to understand it. And we can't, because there's also, hang on, let me just finish. There's also a lot of phrases and idioms that we use today that would make no sense back then whatsoever. And likewise, there are idioms that they used back then that when we read them today, they come across completely differently because we don't understand them in context.
Exactly.
There you go.
The word cool is a great example, right? I mean, people use cool. Wow, you're so cool. Those clothes are so cool. That car is so cool. Yeah, and in 1,000 years, people are going to say, why was everybody so cold?
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
when 10 years later, they were all hot.
Yeah. You cannot, and then, trying to go back, that's just a few years or even a generation. Now you want to go back 5, 10, 20 generations. Yeah, it's totally lost in translation.
There's so many words that you can do that with.
Yeah, most of the things we have no idea really what they were talking about because you just can't put yourself in that mindset unless you're educated in these kind of things where you are putting yourself in that time and everything. But most people are not. And the apologist I just covered the other day was thinking, well, we got it made, right? And I was saying, well, yeah, we have it made now, but it was just 100 or 200 years ago. People were still on the menu, right? We don't worry about getting eaten alive so much nowadays. But it wasn't that long ago, we didn't think ourselves all that special because, they're afraid of the dark, afraid of the woods, afraid of leaving the village could mean the end of you. And we won't really think about that now.
I mean, it's only in the last couple of 100 years that families have been able to just limit themselves to 2 kids. I mean, even my own grandfather is like 5 surviving of 13.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really until the 1950s, 1960s and post-World War II when we started getting technology like vaccines. I know, unpopular topic, but vaccines meant that your parents didn't have to have 3 or 4 of you just to make sure that you survived.
Well, you can see that in some of the poor countries where they still have to hope that some of them survive. Whereas here, we go to the doctor, we have modern medicine, premature C-section, it doesn't matter, that kid is still going to survive. Where not too long ago, they just wouldn't have, and you'd have to try again, or maybe get a new wife because a lot of women died in childbirth too. So you would have another wife or perhaps mistresses just for the purpose of procreation, hoping one of them survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to touch quickly on another topic too, which is the problem of language. It has another issue, which is who's done the interpreting for you. So if you're reading the King James Version of the Bible, you're reading about unicorns. Okay, there are unicorns in the King James Version of the Bible. There aren't unicorns in several other versions. It depends on how they chose to translate it. Is Mary a virgin or is she just a young woman? That distinction has caused huge trouble. Is the commandment thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not murder? And the problem is that it really is up to the person who made that particular translation as to what it actually says. And so now we're stuck trying to interpret somebody else's ideas of what a culture 2,000 years ago was saying.
That's a very good point. Maiden, I think, is one of the words issue here when you're talking about Mary.
Yeah.
I mean, in some contexts, maiden just means a young woman. In other contexts, it does mean a virgin. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, were you trying to come in, Dave?
The Greek word is alma.
I'm all right.
And that has they've interpreted it as virgin, but of course in Greek it's young woman. So.
Or it was slang, and we have again no idea what they actually meant. Right? They could have. It's like when somebody says define what a woman is nowadays. Well, if you look up in the Oxford Dictionary, there's like 100 definitions. You know, a woman could have been a maid. So, are you talking about your wife or your daughter, or are you talking about your maid? Well, it all depends on the context of the sentence if you understand it properly. But if you're out of time again, if you're 100 years ago or something, people are going to say, oh, they're talking about their maid, right? And then we try to interpret that, and we're saying, well, no, a woman means, as we see it, or how they argue now, is a biological female. But you have, like I said, there's like 100 definitions for this word, and that's not counting the slang for the word, because then you got your slang dictionaries, your urban dictionaries, whatever you want to call them, and then you've got a totally different meaning. It could mean pinball machine or whatever, we don't know. It's just how that group used that word. And then as I think Brian or somebody just said, then you got it translated, different languages, different times, on and on and on. Well, you can have 50 different meanings lost just through all of that.
Yeah. Ironically,
I think there are bigger problems than that. I mean, I'm not surprised or astonished or worried about the fact that religions in general have different interpretation of a book. That doesn't faze me at all. I think that one of the biggest problems, and I'm coming to something that it's a little bit closer to Simos, I think, at least last week, is when those kind of myths they use as justification for pseudoscience and all those kind of shit, right? I mean, and it can range from the absurd to the pointless to the useless. I mean, just make a couple of examples. You guys remember, the big scare of 2012, because there was some idiots which interpreted the Mayan calendar as for what it wasn't, right? Or I mean, there's some other morals that they believe they can cure you with crystals and pyramids, energy pyramids, all that kind of shit, and they always rely on some obscure and ancient writing in the past, which, if you take the time to actually go and read it, 99.9999 times out of 100, they absolutely do not say what they think they say. Nostradamus is another great example. There is a plethora of morons trying to interpret Nostradamus prophecies just for shit and giggles, but and I think those are way more dangerous than religion, because you can actually expect that to happen in religion, right? I mean, it's the core business. It's the way they're set up. But pseudoscience,
in some sense as well, I think these are translations from languages which had considerably less words in the vocabulary, and so of course you're going to have many more words in what you're translating it to, in this case English, than there actually are words in Greek, right? So of course it has a lot to do with context. Not just that, is that they in the context in which they're written originally we have derivations of those words. This is where I think the most of the egregious stuff comes for me, because like there was one I heard the other day where somebody uses the word ingest, right? The ingestion. They felt ingested by such and such an action, right? And it's not that they were not like using the word ingest in the sense of a literal ingestion of the gut. They were using it in the sense of it made their guts feel bad.
They weren't using it in jest. They were using it seriously.
Ingest. Oh yes, Kitcha.
Thank you. I don't think you got to go that far, Simos. I mean,
well, you can go that far. That's my point.
No.
It's
Yeah, no. I mean, as a foreign speaker, every time I hear the word literally spoken by somebody speak English, I'm just reaching for a knife, because I have no fucking idea what they mean. If they mean literally or or the opposite, figuratively.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately,
So hang on a minute, Brian.
unfor-
Hang on a minute, hang on, Brian. Fabio, do you mean that literally? Are you literally
I
reaching for a
totally
knife every
mean
time you hear me say literally?
Oh, you're literally making my head explode now, Simon.
literally
That's
mean
literally the problem that we're having here.
I literally mean that I'm going to figuratively going to grab a knife and slash my wrists every time I hear the word
There
literally.
you go. Welcome to the English language, by the way. But,
Yeah.
there you
All
go.
I was going to say was that you have to remember, Fabio, that, when was it? 2014, 2015, somewhere around about there. There was this huge, I suppose, fad on the internet where people literally started using literally figuratively and not caring about it. And it was a point of much hilarity and finger poking and double downing. And we now got to the stage where, the word means literally nothing.
I think it happens a little bit before that. I think there's some examples of Byron using the word literally in a figurative way. But
is there?
Yeah, I think
So
there
it's
are.
his fault then.
Like
It's
Byron,
his fault. He started it.
1800s?
Say again?
Like Lord Byron, you mean?
Yes, the poet.
Okay.
Yes, the poet.
Yeah.
Simon, so
But
you're saying that
then he
Byron
is-
literally used the word literally figuratively?
I am
He
saying that.
literally did.
Yes, I am saying that. He was a poet, so you would expect that. But you know.
Yeah.
Well,
But
and
then
what
Can
an
I just
author
point
means.
out?
Yeah, go
Hello.
ahead.
Point out that in the dictionary, literally actually includes the definition of meaning figuratively.
Well, it does
my
now.
God.
Yeah, it does in both
Oh,
Webster and
dear.
Cambridge. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you all. Western civilization was great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think
Well,
we're done.
like in all seriousness, like I mean, English is a combination of maybe 6 or 7 languages. So I mean, I'm
Exactly.
not
But
really
words have to
surprised.
mean something, or else
Right?
what's the
It's
goddamn point?
so schizophrenic, right? That I am surprised
you-
we
Yeah.
ever. It's so schizophrenic. I'm surprised we actually ever managed to rule a quarter of the world. There we go.
Yeah, I'm
it's
very
6
surprised that
languages
English
and you read
is, like,
all of them wrong. That's the problem. So,
Yes.
Well, we made up our
yes!
own. We've made up our own meanings for them, Fabio.
I know, right?
We
Yeah.
make up our
just-
own
just-
meanings, our
just-
own rules, and we don't even follow our own meanings and rules that we've made up.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hearing
That
now
is
is
like the
jibber,
best part
jibber,
about it, I
jibber.
think.
Well, I think the rules. We follow the rules irregardless of what the rules
Oh my
are.
God!
What,
Thank
Yeah.
you, Nick.
what word
Thank
was
you,
that?
Nick.
That doesn't even exist, that word, Nick. You should be flogged.
Nick,
Perfect.
Nick,
I think
you should say that you literally follow the rules. That's
irregardless.
what you do.
Well, and how many times has an
Regardless, we literally
author
follow the rules.
or a playwright or a musician, they're asked about some of their works and they say, no, that's not what I meant at all.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to it, how you interpret it personally, and that's fine. I mean, if a song makes you feel good, that it brings back memories or something, but the person that wrote the song was about, hammering a nail, right? It had nothing to do with your feelings, but that's how you take it, and that's fine. And I think that's the wonderful thing about literature and all the arts and everything is personal interpretation. But then that one person will say, hey, you're supposed to read it the same way as me. You're supposed to hear the music the same as I do. And then you go back to the original artist and they didn't mean that at all. So and that's not even changing language or anything or times or anything else. This can all be in real time. And book clubs are another example, right? People all read a book and they sit around, they talk about, it means this to me, it means this to me, it means this to me, right?
I'll give you a perfect example of that. Most people think the song Enola Gay is actually a love song.
Yeah.
I was going to go with the example of Tarzan Boy, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think using artists to demonstrate the point is probably a little crude, shall we say? However, when you talk about the Word of God, or like law, for instance, right, or philosophy, right, where it becomes really important to have strict definitions, or you go into any of the technical sciences, which all have their own language, right? So, like,
but they're clear
Latin,
to make
Latin
those definitions.
Latin for biology or Greek for science in general,
And
right?
one of
Then
the
it becomes those words, right, become very specifically defined, right, in order to get to clarity. The problem comes is that then like the people in culture then pick up on the words, right, and they then go, oh well, maybe, and they use the common definition the same way that the scientists use the technical definition, and then
But
that
that's
changes slightly. Big
Oh
Bang,
yeah,
and physics is
but that's
terrible with this, by the
precisely
way.
the
why a
issue is
good
that
scientific
every time you try to raise that point, you find somebody which thinks is the smartest, puppy of the litter, and comes up and says, "Oh, no, words have usage. They don't, they don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
definitions."
Well, this
And
is why
again,
you'll
literally,
find
I want to take a blade and slash my wrists because
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
this
yeah,
is
it's
what
certainly true, but of course, in the technical sciences, those rely on having singular definitions or near enough
but
singular definitions.
but
When
this is
being totally
why
lost, I was just talking about wire sizes the other day. The higher the number, it's the smaller the wire. You get to a point and you're at 0, and then it has to be 0, this, because you can't go below 0. So your biggest wire is 0. And it's totally confusing when you try to think about it. Even when I know better, I hear a bigger number and I think a larger size wire. But no, it's not. It's totally backwards. And
Come
whoever
on, Dave.
thought
I
of
mean,
that system irritates me to no end.
Oh, come on, Dave. I mean, you're still using feet and sticks and furlongs in order to measure shit. So, come on. Really?
Oh, come on, Fabio. They measure things in dishwashers and football fields.
Yeah.
Fuck
How
me.
many
Come on.
buses long is it?
why
It gets worse because if
why
you go back to any ancient things, they've all got really weird, like like feet and inches or fingers and furlongs.
Cu-
Right?
We
cubits.
still use
Right?
hands.
Yeah.
Fingers,
But-
hands, and horses. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
why
We don't technically use fingers anymore, but we do like so.
Maybe
So a
not
hand
in
is 4
America.
inches, and you do like 1 point, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, which would be fingers, but it only goes to 0.4. Obviously, 0.2 would be half a hand. So we don't technically use fingers anymore, but we do still use hands.
Okay, this
Yep.
is why any scientific paper worth its salt will always start with definitions.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is why a
A debate,
mathematical
too.
theorem is not a theorem unless it starts with definitions. Because you have to, in the scientific world, you have to define your parameters. Because otherwise, you're just going to end up talking bollocks because of colloquial understanding of words.
Mhm.
So, yes, if you want to get technical, you need to have a lexicon that you can rely on to mean specific things so that you can actually describe something accurately. Because if you're not describing it accurately, then your scientific paper or your academic work isn't worth shit, quite frankly.
Well, the words have to be prescribed. I mean, both
Yes.
in science. Yeah, exactly. And that's,
Exactly.
I think that's
The
fundamental
issue I was making, and let's move on from that particular point, but let's move on to it's the fact that these get then interpreted by colloquialism to mean whatever the colloquial word is, right? So it's easy to misinterpret the science because people that aren't scientific are literally reading those words and thinking that they understand what the fuck is going on.
Well, they shouldn't have skipped the glossary. That's all I can tell them.
Yeah, there's very little glossary when it comes to the scientists talking about shit, right? So, like the same with philosophy. I mean, the number of times I've heard, like someone give the name of a what was the one that the one that was ad hominem, right? Like,
Right.
how many people just think an ad hominem is just somebody insulting you, right?
No, it has to be in lieu of an argument.
Yes.
No, the ad hominem fallacy
There's
is in
two
lieu of an
different
argument.
fallacies. Yeah, there's
Well,
It
sorry,
depends on if you're talking
I
about an ad
naturally
hominem
assumed we were
argument or an
talking
ad
about the
hominem
fallacy because
Yeah.
he named the fallacy.
Oh, okay.
So there's two different ad hominem fallacies, right? So
I'm confused right now. What?
There are.
there are two different ones.
Well, what's a real ad hominem?
What's the other one?
An ad hominem, the definition of the term ad hominem just means a personal attack. It doesn't necessarily mean
to the person.
Yeah, we're talking about the fallacies specifically.
right. That's what
I thought it was using a attack of a person's character to discredit an argument.
Yeah, but you just thought that because you're short.
What?
Yeah, I think it's also distorting.
Sorry, that was bad. Sorry.
Oh, I just thought. Yeah, I thought an ad hominem was like if you came at me with a cited argument that cites scientific papers, and I just said, well, you're stupid, so your argument is wrong. Attacking your character to discredit your argument.
No,
yeah, that's because
You're
your
wrong.
argument is you're stupid, and you're presenting that instead of an actual argument. So therefore, it's in lieu of an argument.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see.
But if
unless you can prove they're stupid,
you're wrong because you
Yeah,
are stupid.
unless you can prove they're stupid,
You know,
but
that has something
that
to do with
still
it.
doesn't debunk the argument.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Sorry, Headless, you were saying?
Oh, I was going to say, Brian, if your argument's wrong because you are stupid, right? Rather than you're stupid, and that's why your argument's wrong.
Well, that's why, if for
Interesting
any
nuance,
definition of the ad hominem fallacy that I've seen says that it has to be an unrelated character attack. So it has to be a character attack on an unrelated matter, so that you cannot logically draw an inference between whatever I'm saying and what the actual argument is. So if we're arguing over somebody's intelligence, there may be a lot of ad hominem arguments I could make that aren't fallacious because they are in fact directly logically linked to the discussion.
Okay, but if you were to just sort of say because you're fat and leave it at that,
that would be a fallacy.
That would be Okay.
Oh, I see why you're calling it a fallacy now. I get it.
Yeah, because somebody might actually be stupid. I mean, for example, Kent Hovind. His argument
being stupid doesn't
could
necessarily
actually be
mean
stupid.
Yeah.
wrong. You don't.
Yeah.
Being stupid doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong.
Well, and
well,
stupid was a bad example for me to use. Yeah.
Actually, Alec, would you mind explaining that? Because kind of, if my answer to something is stupid, it necessarily has to be wrong, doesn't it? Because the right answer isn't stupid. It's right.
Well, that would be the answer. But saying that a person is stupid doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong.
Or I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and be right every once in a while.
Yeah, even if they're stupid, that's the fallacy, which is just because somebody has made an error or somebody is stupid or doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means they failed to prove they're correct. Right. Those are two different things.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
You guys know a lot more about the whole philosophy and everything than I do, but yeah, that's.
Yeah,
as far as I understand.
Sometimes we do legitimately get tied up in linguistic knots.
Yes,
I do. I know the linguistics. I don't necessarily know the philosophy. That's linguistics.
Well, philosophical knots as well. They're also prevalent.
Indeed.
Has anybody else got any offerings before we move on to another subtopic of the main?
I need to bail, so thank you guys very much for inviting me. It was good to see you all. I'm not going to say
good to see you,
all of you by name, but good to see you guys, and see you
Nick.
next week. My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Nick. It's a pleasure. Everybody subscribed to End Time. I'll try and put the link in the chat, of course. And not that I've got as many subs as you, Nick. Obviously, you're the
go and tell Nick he's stupid.
And when I say heavy hitter, I don't mean that as an add-on.
And you've got Titan performing summoning rituals in the live chat, FYI. All right.
Okay.
I will talk to all of you later.
All right. Ciao, Nick.
See you, Nick.
Yes, everybody go and visit Nick's channel. Tell him the Onions sent you, and tell him he's silly. Yeah, we've Titans casting summoning spells. What's all this about? I don't have post up on the screen ability, so I can't do any of that. Let's just read these out. Nick Suda said, falsehood isn't necessary to prove the law of non-contradiction. You should argue with him. Then John McDropout says, ad hominem translates to with those, in brackets, that group. There, the fallacy is about the argument being invalid by association with a poorly regarded group. So I'm still not seeing any summoning spells.
Yeah, no, he says. Well, I'll put the actual summoning spell up properly.
Okay, all right.
So
if you can do that, because I don't have that access.
I've got it here. There we are.
Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the answer. Right. So symbolism
Put it away. Put it away.
We hacked that to death. Historical insight versus scientific accuracy. I think we probably
we started that one.
Huh?
Yeah, we certainly started on that one.
Yeah. Can ancient texts provide clues about real historical events, such as meteor impacts, eclipses,
of course
plagues?
They can.
Yeah.
That might be worth cross-referencing with modern data.
I think that's what. Sorry.
Go ahead, No, please. You go first.
Okay. I think that's the whole idea of like what classicists and I can't remember the technical names for their schooling now, but people who read ancient texts, there are people who study how to read ancient texts to do precisely what that question was asking. Like, isn't that a field of science or not or whatnot?
It's what people that study historical texts do. Yes.
Yeah.
There is a science. It's called archaeology.
Yeah. I meant like archaeology through text work instead of archaeology through physical digging. Like.
Yeah.
Well, I
think it's more to do with is it worth cross-referencing with modern data.
There's been some amazing examples where ancient texts have led to archaeological discoveries. I'm thinking of Troy and Flinders Petrie, is it?
Oh yeah. Troy's a good one.
I mean, there are quite a few examples.
Yeah,
where
still looking for Noah's Ark, by the way.
Although it's worked the other way. There's been a lot of pseudoscience, of course. I'm thinking this time of the guy that went and scanned the bed of the Red Sea and found something that looked like a wheel rim of a chariot, and therefore claimed that Moses had split the Red Sea, and that was a Roman chariot that he found. Of course, all he really found was something that looked vaguely circular, which was encrusted with a lot of shit.
It was an axle and wheel, but it's not Roman or Egyptian. It's much later, like 20th century.
Like whatever Ron Wyatt chucked overboard.
Yeah, they were trucks or vehicles that were dumped overboard, I believe, after the wars.
Typical
Okay,
American.
there you go.
Don't get me started on the Magic Zubo.
Okay, cultural continuity. What role do myths play in preserving cultural identity, especially in marginalized or colonized communities?
I think that you can put on a good show. They just had a thing. Somebody in Africa was marching up into Europe to talk about the plight of the animals, and they had these old puppets of giraffes and everything. They're marching around and everything, and yeah, there is value in telling these stories, and especially with species that may be on the decline, that people may have forgotten about even existed, that did go extinct. Like they're worried about some of these ones going extinct now. So there is some value in old stories, telling about things that existed or happened, and somebody pointed out, meteor or a comet in the sky. But it wasn't magic. It wasn't a sign, all the ways that they interpret it. It's now we know it was just a space rock, or it was just an animal that tasted good, and people did away with them.
Well, there may be a large context here in that the fact that the ancients, were scanning the skies looking for these things, or if they saw them, they were like, seen as these harbingers of doom. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things that shook me a little as a youngster, but I've learned to live with it, was learning that statistically speaking, we are overdue a catastrophic asteroid strike. And as much younger me was reading through a lot of these things and doing my history and looking at some of the Aztec stuff and all of this blah blah blah. Halley's Comet, as we started with. A part of me thinks, well, yeah, there's got to be some reason why seeing these things in the sky kind of fills us with dread to a certain extent. And I think it's possibly because deep down in cultural memory, there are significant impacts that actually did have life-changing consequences as a result of tsunamis, earthquakes, what have you, weather events. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why it has that what do we call it in the title? Comets of Doom. That's why it kind of has that connotation. Huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, to say there's a quote by I'm desperately trying to think of his name, but I'm not certain. But I think it's Lord Kelvin that said, "I'd rather believe in miracles than rocks should fall from the sky."
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
it's some scientist. I can't remember exactly who it was.
But it's in how you look at it too, though, right? I mean, if that asteroid hadn't taken out the dinosaurs, we wouldn't have had the rise of large mammals.
Absolutely.
So was it a good thing or a bad thing? What was bad for them, it's good for us.
Yeah. And future historians will look back at us and, say, well, yeah, the asteroid hit didn't do them many favors, but we wouldn't be here without it.
Is good or bad a human construct, though? So it doesn't really matter if it's good or bad. It only matters to us.
Well, yeah, obviously, good and bad is very contextual. It's very, yeah. I mean, it really is contextual. But yeah. So an asteroid hit in 2032. Yeah, that would be devastating for us. But in say 3250, they're going to be looking back and probably going. And then in another couple of 100,000 years, they'll be digging up any remains of New York and going, oh, look, yes, they actually they learned to squeeze metal out of rocks. How clever. Mm-hmm. So, it is all contextual and it all depends on your perspective.
I just have to say, I saw a film the other night which was called Don't Look Up. I think it was called Don't Look Up or Don't Look Down, whichever way.
No, Don't Look Up it is. I think
it was Don't Look Up.
I see it's supposed to be good.
Yeah, it was quite a good film. It was quite good.
It was.
A bit cheesy at the end, but then, what can you say? It's Hollywood, I suppose.
It's got to be entertaining, isn't it? So.
Yeah, well, but you can make it entertaining without it being cheesy. But maybe that's just a European thing. I don't know.
It's personal taste, isn't it?
Oh, I think I saw this. Okay.
Well, they think the wise men probably saw some kind of cosmic event as well, and they saw it as a good thing that God incarnate was going to be born.
That's
Yeah,
true.
So-
Yes, I mean most nativity scenes will feature a star, won't they?
Yeah, with a tail.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Interesting. That's an interesting one as well because they're called magi, and that's translated to wise men.
Yeah, they were probably Persian priests, Persian magi, like
Yeah.
Zoroaster.
Well, you've got other derivative words, magus.
Yeah. This is my name.
Magician. Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah,
weren't all that
magician.
smart no matter what it was, because they came to see God incarnate born on earth, as a young man, and then they left.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you leave for? I mean, you traveled all this distance, you did all these calculations, you knew this comet was going to come as a sign. There's God incarnate, you bring gifts, and then you leave.
Yeah. There you go. And there you go.
Weren't you
and
even
what kind of
mildly curious to
and
hang
what-
around?
No,
and
not at all.
and what-
Jesus wasn't originally God, though. It was the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Laodicea that deified Jesus as the actual Son of God.
Well,
as
even
Nick
if they
was
just saw him
saying
as
earlier,
the
it was
king
one of-
or
it was
anything,
one
they
of the
didn't.
concessions that they
Yeah.
made. It was the biggest concession that the
They didn't hang around. Even if Jesus was to be the Messiah or a king or whatever, there was a reason that they thought whatever this person was going to be born. And no matter, God incarnate, or if they were going to be a king or whatever, nobody bothered to care. Again, they just left and they just said, well, whatever will be, will be. Well, then it kind of takes away the point of, well, what did you do all the calculations and the traveling for in the first place?
It's in
Yeah,
or
well,
else it was, or else it was a narrative.
I like the fact that it's in Life of Brian when she goes, well, look, if you come back, just don't bother with the myrrh.
Yeah, right.
We'll pass on that.
Have you
More
smelled
gold.
her,
More
though?
gold.
It's nice.
Well, there's also the potential reality that it was written in afterwards as a nice narrative
That's what I was going to say.
mechanism
Yeah.
to highlight a point.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody was there, right? I mean, how do they know what happened? You know what I mean? It was like nobody going, oh, here we go. So
Yeah,
clearly
well-
it's written in afterwards to justify that it's the Son of God, because there must have been a star. Because, why? Because all auspicious things happen if on that scale if there's some kind of like comet going, right?
And of course, the Messiah has to fulfill ancient prophecies, otherwise he's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
And he didn't fulfill any of them.
Brian, do you
So-
follow the shoe or the gourd?
I'm sandal all the way, mate.
Okay.
So yes, okay. So that's cultural continuity. I'm looking at the time. I see we've got about half an hour or so left, and I've got a
We've got
couple of
plenty of time. We got plenty of
yeah,
time.
plenty of time. But here we go. Here's one that we can get our teeth into for a bit. Modern myth making. Are we still creating our own versions of, quote, comets of doom? How do media narratives, conspiracy theories, or speculative fiction reflect this impulse that we seem to have as a species?
I mean,
That's a good question.
Seems to be prevalent still. Yeah. I mean, in old times to now,
Of course,
you still have people looking for these signs and mysteries and everything to make sense of it all.
what was that cult? It's like on the tip of my tongue, but that like off themselves when the Hale-Bopp comet came through.
Heaven's Gate.
Thank
Heaven's
you.
Gate, yeah.
Their website still exists.
Well, their website still exists, and there was a couple of members that like stayed behind to like maintain it and stuff. And
I think
The
you
smart
probably
ones.
find
really weird and creepy, but yeah,
there's a few people.
The ones
that
with the
have-
bank account numbers stayed behind.
apparently.
Yeah, but in the spirit of
But
things on the
apparently, like,
internet
the-
being cool, there's bound to be several people that have come across it and gone, "Oh, that's great. I think I'm going to add that to my identity."
I mean, like the the leader, like, apparently was all in on believing it. He's one of the ones who offed himself. Like, it wasn't like the leader was like, oh yeah, you all kill yourselves and then I'm left with like all of your bank account information. Like, he was one of the ones, like, he believed it.
I'm pretty sure they
Yeah.
all.
Well,
No,
I think they're still going. I mean, aren't they responsible for Kiora?
Hang on, let's just let
yeah.
us
Let's Google.
consult the
Come on, people, we
almighty
have
AI.
Google.
Let's see what Sid has to say. Is the cult of Heaven's
A little pejorative
Gate.
calling it a cult there already.
Yeah.
Okay, is it?
No, don't
what
worry,
what
I'm-
do
They
I
did
call
have
it?
many members.
I'm joking.
Yes,
The
they did have
Kiora
many
thing,
members.
I don't think they're responsible for Kiora, but I know that stuff's pretty
What's
toxic.
Kiora? I'll Google it later. Never mind.
Orange juice. That's caused kids to get
Right.
really hyper because they put so much shit in it.
Let's find out. Let's see what Sid has to say. No, Heaven's Gate is no longer an active cult.
It's
The
no
group
longer active, but
disbanded
they-
following the infamous mass suicide in March '97, when 39 members, including the leader, Marshall Applewhite, died in Rancho Santa Fe, California.
They left 8 members behind,
Um,
and they maintained the website for many years.
Is
the
it-
original Heaven's Gate website is still active and maintained by 2 surviving members
Oh wow.
who live in Arizona.
Yeah, heretics.
They are. I'm not gonna mention their
I feel
names
bad
for
laughing at
obvious
that.
reasons.
Yeah.
There's no recruitment activity, while the site continues teachings, videos, and exit statements. Oh, good grief, that's a term and a half, isn't it? Exit statement. This is my exit
Who were the
statement.
2 members of Heaven's Gate who survived?
Let's not read out their exit statements, maybe.
No, it's not there. It just mentions
Okay.
them.
I'm glad. Should we get Lucky in? He can read it out.
No,
You'd
let's
enjoy
not
that.
read those out on the internet, please.
Okay, I was
don't think we should
partially
read
right.
people's
Cultural legacy. Interest in Heaven's Gate persists through documentaries, podcasts, and even dramatizations, like the upcoming thriller of The Leader, starring Jim Parsons. Oh, I like him. Doesn't he play Sheldon?
Yeah, that's him.
There was there's an English TV show, Time and the Place, I think it's called. No, the big questions. And they did one on cults, and they actually had somebody from an ex-member of Heaven's Gate who was literally defending the guy, the leader.
Was he an ex-member or was he like a member that was left behind?
Yeah, same difference. I don't know, but yeah.
Or it'll be they had everything right. They just had the wrong comet or something like that. It's like the end of the world folks that say, well, there is going to be an end of the world. They just got the date wrong because they did the math wrong, right?
Do they think that like what's his face, like Applegate and all them have like transcended and they're just like waiting their turn?
Yep.
Well, that's like a Key and Peele sketch show, isn't it? Where they have the 2 members in the background waiting to get beamed up.
Yeah.
And then they don't get it, and all the others killed themselves.
Who's
And
to say they aren't on a spaceship, right?
There
Yeah.
was a family not that long ago that like fucking offed themselves. That it was like I think it was like a dozen of them or some shit. It was like 3 generations that freaking offed themselves. That like the dad just like picked a date, and I can't remember there was like a reason for the date and all of this shit, but like yeah, he like decided that he was like, okay, on this day we're gonna all, and like they all like there's video of them of like because it was they lived in a well-populated area, so there's like security footage of like them getting like 12 stools and bringing all 12 stools in and bringing in like all this rope and like cutting all of the length of the rope and like people
I blame the
get shit in their
patriarchy.
fucking head.
Okay, I have an answer.
I don't blame the patriarchy, but
I have an answer. It says apparently only a handful of people survived. It doesn't specify the number, but it says there are 3 known, 2 by choice and 1 by design to bear witness.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
The thing I was reading said that 8 members.
I bet you they all have
behind
books out.
initially,
I
but
bet you they've all written books. Yeah, don't bother looking it up. I don't.
No,
know if you know.
no. I'm just scanning to see if it mentions. It doesn't mention any books. It just says that one of them was tasked with documenting and sharing the story with the outside world.
Sounds like a book, yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't seem to be making money out of it or anything. It's not, it's not raking it in or anything. Very sort of quiet little operation by the looks of it.
That one cult they had, the guy convinced hundreds of members to castrate themselves to prove yourself worthy of being in the group.
That was Heaven's Gate.
And yeah, I was gonna say, I thought that was
Now, this was like
T and Joe, right?
In Indonesia or someplace like that. It was
yeah, they had to move for a while.
Yeah, it was a group, and they had it was just to prove. Well, the loyalty thing. It's in a lot of gangs and stuff. You have to do something or steal something or off somebody to prove your worth to be in the group. And if you take a knife to your junk, you're worthy.
That one's very interesting because it's most commonly seen in cult scenarios where you have charismatic leader who basically wants sole access to most of the females.
Yeah.
So as an act of loyalty, the males castrate themselves and therefore lose their libidos.
Yeah. More for me.
There you go. That's the whole point.
Super common in antiquity for castration cults. Many of them existed.
Oh yeah, there's been plenty, and I'm sure there will be plenty more.
Yeah.
Because we are a very gullible species.
That's what I was going to say. There seems to be so many people that will do just about anything because they want that
they
extra
need
meaning or
they
something.
Need that structure. And it's very limbic. It's because at our core we are essentially a hierarchical ape that needs to either be the leader or follow a leader. That's why we see so much tribalism on the internet as well.
Yeah, and a desire to feel like an individual. So this is why people do outrageous things to say, "Look at me," I guess.
Yeah,
well,
and also
to be an individual and to be part of a group. Yeah.
Also to be noticed by the leader and praised by the leader. That's also built in.
Praise is a big thing. Yeah, it is. Yes. They want the praise of the Almighty One or something.
Yeah. It's I'm not sure if it's cortisone or the other one, but it just floods the brain.
Mm. Well,
I thought it was
the cults and the gangs and the pimps and everything, they all use that of reinforcing that we love you. Nope, nobody else does. We love you. We take care of you. We look out for you. Nobody else does. We do. And people want, they want that so much. It doesn't matter who or what they're doing. They want that. So the means doesn't matter. It's what their ends are.
Yeah, I can give you a very first-hand accounting of that exact emotional reaction when exiled Victoria died. For the longest time, the biggest, most notable reaction. And by that I mean the one that I could put words to for myself. And this is the first time I'm talking about this, so you're all privileged. The feeling was that with her no longer here, nobody had my back. And
Right.
I'm still having difficulty with that now. But yeah, when she was here, I was sound as a pound, as we say here in the UK. Sound as a pound I was, because I knew she had my back in all things, and she knew I had hers. So yeah, that knowing that somebody's got your back is very, very deeply rooted, deeply ingrained in every single one of us.
Yeah.
Sure, for good reason too. I mean, it's a survival, basic survival thing, right?
We're a social.
Probably
being.
157 years old, like that instinct. Or
Sorry,
older.
Martha?
That instinct is probably 150,000 years old or older.
Oh yeah,
Well,
it goes
Sure.
back to when we were our arboreal ancestors.
I think that's kind of what led to the mental breakdown that I had a few years back, was like that feeling of like
Nobody having your back.
Like not only like was I betrayed by my mother, but like when I reached out to the people who I depended on, I got silence, and that was
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry you went through that, but it really does speak to what we're talking about.
Yeah, I lost
and I
my
hope
mind.
you feel that somebody's got your back now.
My mind. I have come through that, and it's kind of taken me a while to like sort of find my way. But yeah, when it happened, my brain broke. If that makes sense, I didn't have a reality that I felt like I could rely on. I didn't know what was solid in my life.
It's
if that makes sense.
foundational.
Yeah.
That's why people cling to core axioms of, say, believing a conspiracy theory that they've believed for like 40 years, because not believing it shatters the whole existence of who they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've
made so many connections
facet
in your almost like you've made connections in your personality to that being
That's
hey guys, look at who here remembers Nephilim Free?
Yes.
Okay.
How could I forget?
For the longest time, he was a geocentrist.
Mm.
And he stuck to it. And then one day, he admitted he was wrong. He's now heliocentric.
Yeah.
But still young Earth. Still young Earth. He only took one step away from where he was.
That's difficult, though.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Still earth shattering.
Yeah,
but he did know one thing. You get off the crazy train before it got to flat Earth town.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Mud fossils too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
10,000 year, 100,000 year old Earth. That's fine. He can work with that. But flat Earth, no. Those people are crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's Ken Ham. Yeah,
again,
the Magic Zubo.
Of who, it's part of the foundation of who he is. I have a good friend who was raised in a very Christian. I mean, we live in the Bible Belt. He was raised around here. Ended up leaving religion when he was like disowned for being gay.
Yeah.
Many years before this incident that happened, we ended up having like a near accident where his car like spun around 3 times on the highway. And when I got to his car, because he couldn't even talk when I tried to call him on the phone, the first words out of his mouth were, "I saw Jesus." Right? This man has not been to church in like at least a decade, but that was the first word out of his mouth were, "I saw Jesus," because that was like, he went back to like the foundational core of his upbringing, right? And that was Jesus.
And that's all interesting too, Brian, because people can believe in some, what I would say are ridiculous things, but they have a level, right? Or no, I'm sorry, that was
that's just too far.
That was who was it? Marcel said it. That you'll have a line, or no, anyway, whoever brought up Nephilim. You can have this line, and Ken Ham, we'll have the Magic Zubo, man living with dinosaurs, and all this stuff. But again, Oh no, flat Earth. Those people are just crazy.
That's a lie.
You know, who would believe that? Yeah, there's this
Dave,
line.
It works.
You know,
it's a perfect thing here, and it all goes back to Ken Hovind. Ken Hovind, you get 1,000 people in the room. He stands there and does his little pitch, and 900 people get up and walk out of the room thinking he's a nut. He's got
But some
100
stay.
people left who all buy a book.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
But if you kept going and said the Earth is flat, 90 more people get up and walk out of the room.
Yeah.
And you can't make any money on 10 people.
Yeah. But here's the thing about
gotta
flat
know
Earth.
when to get off the crazy train.
Here's the thing with flat Earth. We've known as a species that the Earth is round for as long as we've been looking up at the stars, because there's only one way in which the stars and the sun and the moon can actually go around us like that, and everybody sees it. And we know that everybody sees it, and it does the same thing because we trade with them, albeit in a very, roundabout route.
I was gonna say,
And word gets around, and we've known we're living on a ball ever since the first ship disappeared over the horizon.
Yeah.
And everybody panicked and said, how the hell do we get home? And then
Turn
they
around.
just sort of coast crawled for a few thousand generations.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of
the Earth being flat is a very, very modern thing.
I mean, I would say for a lot of like human evolution, though, you have to keep in mind that for a lot of human evolution, the vast majority of the population saw the night sky from one position and one position only.
Yes, but the stars moved. They
And they
saw
only
them traveling in an arc.
Yes, they saw them traveling in an arc, but like, what does that? They don't necessarily know what that means, and like the amount of people that they talk to, the vast majority of the people that they're having discussions with on a day-to-day basis and even on a lifetime basis are also people who see the night sky from that one position.
Yeah, but what you got to remember is that there's very little of humanity that isn't connected either by 3 or 4 degrees of separation with people who live on a coast. And if you live on the coast, you have ships and you have vessels and you have people that travel. So it's not that difficult for the Earth is round to get about, given how long that we've actually sat around campfires and discussed this very thing.
Once you get sea travel, but it takes a while till we get to sea travel.
We've been sea traveling for a very long time.
Yeah.
For like almost 5,000 years.
Yeah, 5,000 years.
Longer than that, because the Bronze Age collapse. Yeah, they're talking about sea peoples. So
like the Basque people, I guess.
I'm just saying, as a species, haven't we been around for like 20,000 years?
Longer than
as
that.
a species, we've been around for a good 100,000 years.
Yeah, or more.
Okay.
Or more.
Even more. Okay, so yeah, I'm
That's-
way off on the numbers.
That's one of those things. The Quran and the Bible both speak of currents in the ocean, and they say, "Oh, this must have been from God." But no, we knew about that for thousands of years before that.
Thousands of years.
We
yes.
did.
Knowing the Earth was round to thinking it was flat to then Copernicus proving it was round again.
Copernicus, he didn't get a lot of pushback. The early church fathers knew the Earth was round.
Who said I know the
known
Earth
that
is
the Earth is
round for
round
I've seen the eclipse? Yeah.
For at
that
least
was
5,000 years
Pythagoras.
or more.
That was Pythagoras.
Absolutely.
Pythagoras.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyone who's witnessed an eclipse knows that it's the shadow of the Earth.
I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know that we've known that the Earth is round for like 50,000 years.
We've known it's at least 50,000 years.
Yeah, people.
really?
It might have been well known, but it was known. It was surely known.
It was known, and it was known by anybody that ever spoke to a sailor.
Yeah, like and like
50,000 years ago, though, is what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
50,000 years ago.
Did we have
Don't
sailors
forget.
back
Don't
then?
forget. when you look at technological development, yeah, we've seen it do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
just
And
calm down. Let's
the
calm
thing
down
is-
on the numbers a little bit here,
Yeah,
right?
the
So
the
it's
thing
nearer
is,
200,000 years plus that humans have been
yeah,
on the day. There's artwork that goes back 115,000 years, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
also boats don't go back 50,000 years.
Okay.
Maybe rafts, but not boats.
well,
Boats is a
seafaring,
fairly
going on water.
right. Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to get far enough out to sea to see that it was to see the land disappear.
No, but you can
Thank you.
see
I
you can
appreciate the
see
numbers.
coastlines disappearing over the horizon as well.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I don't think people even thought about it 50,000 years ago.
Well, they would have
Because
had to
Right.
for navigational reasons, just to know how to
I
get
don't think
back
people
home.
were navigating the seas 50,000 years ago.
Well, they were navigating coastlines and rivers and shit.
To like sail around the whole perimeter of Australia or something, you would have to travel over the horizon.
Yeah,
I
get-
just
to get to some of
Yeah.
the Polynesian islands.
Yeah, one of
Right.
their oldest outriggers from like Polynesia and stuff is about 3,000 BC. So you got
Yeah.
5,000 years.
oh well,
Yeah,
I know
mean,
that.
we spread over this globe a long time ago, and we had to get there some of these places where there weren't land bridges because there was water there.
Yeah.
Well, these aren't the first boats, so these are the first people that went, so to speak, out to sea, right? Where they didn't just coast hug; they headed out with their outriggers until they hit an island somewhere.
If finding evidence of what any civilization knew or did before the last ice age is it's all speculative anyway.
Yeah,
I agree.
agree.
I don't think
Agreed.
there is. Anyway,
There's not a lot of wooden boats that are left from that long ago
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
I
right,
mean,
like,
when you listen to people that used to traverse around the Mediterranean, and when you see the documents anyway, and some of them do talk about navigation and they do talk about following stars, but they don't do it. They only do it north to south. They don't do it east to west. So even then, and that's just
well,
in the
if you look at
Mediterranean,
some of the
and that's only like
some of the ancient texts, that we're discussing. You look at, I mean, ancient carvings, things that do go back millennia. A lot of them feature some form of ship. I mean, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, when they were burying the ancient pharaohs, they had fairly complicated rigs for going out to sea.
Sure.
And that was
Brian,
3,000-4,000 years ago.
Sure.
Just as
the Mediterranean,
Just as a point, Brian, oldest known boat was found in the Netherlands, 8,040 BCE to 77510
Thank you,
BCE.
Headless.
Yeah, that's
There you
cool.
go. And that's a
Wow.
dugout, and that's
Thank
a
you.
dugout canoe.
That's cool. Yeah,
Okay.
the Vikings found the island I live on in 1000 AD, and that's a pretty far trip from Viking land to where I am. Well, unless they came from Greenland. Unless they came, never mind.
Yeah, by the time we got to the Vikings, we had it down pat.
Yeah. There's a cool Viking village near where I live. It's like one of the only ones in North America.
Anyway, yes. Moving on.
human
Well, the
Moving on.
Vikings were, they were doing the east-west thing.
Hey, Simos and everybody, I'm gonna go drop in on Slim real quick.
Okay, mate. Thank you so much for coming, Dave. It's really
I want to drop
appreciate
in
it.
and say hi to him. He's covering some ghosts, so I at least want to make an appearance over there because
No problem, Dave.
You know how it
Thank
goes,
you for
yeah.
being here. Thank you for your contribution. Much appreciated.
Yep, and I will talk to you all soon.
Take it easy.
See you Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. There's a link below, everybody, for Dave's channel. So please up to Dave's channel. He has Saturday night at the Atheist, and that's at 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock EST. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, there we go. This brings us down to my last talking point, which is epistemological humility. Is dismissing myth as, quote, irrational, a kind of intellectual arrogance? Can engaging with ancient texts encourage broader models of knowledge and understanding? Here we go. Discuss.
That's another good question. I would say yes.
Okay, so we've got a yes.
Sorry,
Headless?
yeah, what was the question again? Something, yes.
Okay.
Epistemological humility, yeah.
Yes. Is dismissing myth as irrational a kind of intellectual arrogance?
Well,
Or
it depends on the evidence, doesn't it?
Or can engaging with ancient texts encourage a broader model of knowledge and understanding?
Well, certainly about history, it can, obviously. So there's that.
So there's another yes. Okay.
Does it have much to say about the modern scientific world? Not really, no. Even the stuff that Greeks got right, they're very rarely completely right in the modern world, especially since the
but understanding their perspective
19th century. So especially since the 19th century, most things that the I don't know, shall we say the ancient world or even the medieval world was stating are either just true by definition or they've been updated, including maths, statistics, logic, philosophy, ethics. I mean, I can't think of one single area which hasn't been improved over and shown that even the stuff the Greeks got right is probably slightly wrong. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Is that people look at these ancient texts, right? And they say things like, well, of course someone can rise from the dead because look at all of these, the 5 facts for the resurrection, or look at these great this amazing moral system, right, in the Bible, right? The 10 Commandments or 30 Commandments or however many you think there might be. Aren't these just amazing? Well, no. I mean, you only have to come up to the 1600s to find moral systems or ethical systems which are just superior, right? You don't even have to come that far. You could probably go to some of the church fathers and find out that they're disagreeing with the Bible, right?
Oh, a lot of them were. That's why they had to convene a council to figure everything out and actually sort of standardize everything. Because, the origins of Christianity were very disparate.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there's much left in the ancient world which hasn't been improved on and updated. And
what about pyramid making?
Yeah, that's if you go to Las Vegas, you'll find a much better pyramid.
What about shot? Well, never mind. That's a dumb question. Never mind.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned the pyramids is that there is enough time between the pyramids being built and Cleopatra for the skills and the techniques required to have been long forgotten.
I don't know. I mean, this sounds very. What was the guy's name that used to think that the pyramids were a Bible source or arcane logos? Right?
Don't even get started on him.
He was a fucking nutter. But I'm just saying.
Come on, Simon. The man
hang on. Those skills were never lost. Ever lost, right? By the time you get into the 1200s in this country, right, we were building castles and cathedrals, right? The cathedral age, right, was using all of the same techniques that they used, except on steroids by that time because they'd perfected them.
Well, you weren't using megalithic stones to build cathedrals.
Yeah, that's because they figured out that your back hurts when you do that. If you make the blocks smaller, you can all carry them. You're just going to need a few more.
Also, the stone they were using was considerably harder, right, to deal with.
So they learned how to stack them a little better. You didn't need a whole stone.
And they were still doing it by trial and error, right? Those cathedrals, most of them fell down the first time they built them, and then they went, "Oh, okay, maybe we built that a little too high this time.
Yeah.
We'll rebuild it."
And then they invented the vaulted arch.
Well, I mean, yeah. I'm
No,
not
he's
sure who
talking
exactly
about the
invented
vaulted
that.
arch, like when they
Yeah.
first tried that out the first few times. It fall down, go boom.
Well,
That was
It put it
the
back up.
solution to the buildings going like that when they went too tall.
yes.
Yeah, but Brian, even building the arch, you might have a little bit of trial and error to getting the stupid things right.
True, true.
And engineering then wasn't the science we understand of, like I'll use the word science as what we understand of engineering today. It was more of lick your thumb and look at it. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little more sophisticated than
Yeah.
that, exactly,
Okay,
right?
And
okay.
sometimes
We
they
both
help
we'll
their
make it a little
engineer.
They
fatter at
measured.
the bottom.
They had
Hang
right
on.
angles. They knew what
Yeah,
right
yeah.
angles were. They had
Right.
they had Pythagoras, if not the theory itself, but they knew that triangles with particular sides had a 90-degree
Yeah.
angle, and they used that to try and measure and lay it out. But
Ancient knowledge, you see.
even the best of the pyramids, right? They are slightly askew. They're not accurate to more than well, the most accurate is accurate to like 6 or 8 inches, right? Now the one
Actually,
in
Simus?
Vegas is accurate to like an inch.
Yeah.
So
Simus,
I mean, we've
how many
improved
sides does
considerably.
an
Also not
Egyptian
as
pyramid
big,
have?
but yeah.
What?
It's 8.
4.
No,
It's
trick
it's
question.
4.
It's
It's
8.
it's
Eight,
4
yeah.
outside. But the pyramid is a projection of a thetaedron. So
okay,
if you
yeah.
consider the one, yeah,
Yeah, the sides aren't straight. They're actually tipped in on each side. So there's actually 2 sides per side. So it gives you
Yeah,
8.
they're angled. They're angled in. Yes.
So what
One
the
of the
question was
interesting things,
originally?
talking of ancient foundations, without the ancient Greeks, a lot of modern maths would fall apart.
Well, I don't think it would fall apart because it'd still be there. And I would say without the medieval Italians,
The
then
point
math.
being
Hang
is
on.
that
Oh,
you still
okay.
have to use it.
Yeah, we still use it. But without
Exactly.
the medieval Italians, we wouldn't have the modern world at all, right? Because they were the ones that came up with how to sum infinities. They were the ones that came up with solving higher level equations, which weren't quadratic or quadratic equations to the 5th power, for instance. And without
they actually
those,
they
then
actually
modern
had
algebra couldn't be done.
yeah, they had shows like people gather like in a theater with mathematicians and they're giving equations that were solving on the spot. So I mean,
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds just like the Royal Institute at Christmas.
Indeed, and also they give prizes as well back then. It was
yeah,
a very big thing to solve a new kind of puzzle, mathematical
Still
puzzle,
is
shall
now.
we
I mean, you
say?
got Nobel
Mhm.
prizes for science and maths.
Yeah,
One-
I don't think you
one-
get. I don't think mathematicians get them, but
one of the
but mathematicians get their own prizes. But yeah,
one of the most famous was a Florentine mathematician called Cardano, and actually invented something that you guys still have, and we still use, and we have more than one in every house. The uh, the kind of spline which connects the driving shaft, to the engine, the one which moves like that. That's a Cardano, and it was invented by that guy. So
Oh, like a gear.
no, it's the two. I mean, how the fuck do I explain?
It's okay. It's
Uh,
okay.
Yeah, I'll send you a drawing.
it's quite weird actually.
Is it a Venn diagram?
Is this is something which is quite interesting, I feel, because there's been a long history of mathematicians who have done incredible work to lay the foundations for future science, right?
Yeah.
Including him, but also Galois, obviously, a very
Yeah.
famous young man that died very young. But by the time he was, I don't know, whatever, 20, he'd already worked out just, new forms of algebra and all sorts of statistical stuff, obviously. And I think that goes back, right? Because there's the Greek woman. What was the Greek woman's name?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Hypatia.
Yeah.
Hypatia. Yes. So Hypatia died in whatever it was, 300 and something BC.
Sacking of Alexander, allegedly.
Killed by Christians, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sacking of Alexandria.
she was working on infinite series. Right? So
Yeah.
if she carried on doing that, potentially we could have had the steam engine 1,000 years at least before we actually did get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a movie about her story and how it came out in 2009 called Agora, and it's all about her teaching teaching all of her stuff to two slave boys before she gets killed.
I've seen that film, Agora. Yeah. It's very good.
I will write that down.
Yet, but
yeah.
I want to.
Yeah,
I'll be
Agora.
checking that out.
Yeah, it's well worth the watch.
Good. So, like this, this is something which is quite interesting because unlike, talk about gems from the ancient times. The point you made there, Brian, was without Pythagoras, effectively. I mean, Greeks, but yes, but Pythagoras specifically.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know. Oh, I suppose Euclid as well. But without
not that we wouldn't know, it's that we wouldn't be able to manipulate him as well.
Well, yeah, but the point being here is that these are ancient manuscripts, right, which deal in which deal in things which don't change over millennia, right? So
because they're just right.
Yeah, of course, they're right within the terms that they're right within. Okay, so the postulates, Euclid's postulates, can be changed, right? They have been added to, etc. The set theory that Galois came up with, for instance, is an improvement on Euclid, and obviously we have a thing now called non-Euclidean geometry, which Einstein used to come up with the theory of relativity. So, it still gets improved upon, but of course, famously, we would have made it to the moon with just Newton's understanding of gravity. Yeah, we didn't need anything more than that. So it's interesting.
But we did need the computing power to be able to do the calculations in a timely manner.
Sure.
So that's why it took that long, because we had to mechanize counting.
Yeah, but that's true. I mean, it's true that a large number of people can't really be relied upon as well as a machine in that sense.
Or fast enough,
because of human error. Well, I mean, you can always get more people to do the calculations, I suppose.
Yeah. And then you've got the radio radio telegraphy.
Sure, but the point being, I feel that these are gems from ancient manuscripts, right?
Yeah.
There's like somebody said to me once, a theist said to me once, well, look at the Bible. I mean, it's the most published book in the world, right? And it's certainly the most read. And I went, I'm not sure about that, because I think maybe The Elements is probably the most read book in the world, because every school kid had to read it from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably the invention of schools to the modern day. So, yeah, I'm not actually convinced the Bible is the most read book in the world.
It might actually be Janet and John, or Spot Play.
I think you're thinking of English book.
Jane.
Well, no, it's been translated. It's been translated into all sorts of languages.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I think that's quite culturally, I'm not sure. Let's put it this way: I'm not sure that a comet came over the day Janet and John was written. I could believe it that when Euclid wrote The Elements, that a comet was going overhead.
That's a good point.
So yeah. So
whereas
the
nuns
anyway.
that were sewing the Bayeux tapestry for the Normans, actually did see one.
Well, allegedly, yeah. Again, we don't know, because that was done after the event as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, but hasn't somebody actually done the orbital calculations and worked out that actually, yes, it was around about that time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is Halley's Comet.
Yeah,
That
that's
little
how they know it is Halley's
Yeah.
Comet.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it was identified.
William the Conqueror took it as a good omen, and Harold the First saw it as a bad omen.
Bad omen.
Oh,
And that's how it turned out.
Yeah. And Brian, as far as the your most read books, the Bible is somewhere between, or Simus, the Bible is between 5 to 7 billion copies. The Quran is 800 million. Quotations from Chairman Mao, over 1 billion copies.
There you go.
Oh, that's going to please Jill. Bloody liberal beats the Bible.
And then other notable books, the Book of Mormon, Don Quixote, and Harry Potter series are among the best-selling and most read books.
There we go.
So, yeah,
There
it's
we
no
go.
longer the Bible.
Harry Potter.
We moved out of the Middle Ages, folks. It's official.
Yes, there you go. Finally. Anyway,
So, yeah,
but
I
no,
think
that is
we've
interesting.
exhausted my talking
Those
points.
gems. Well, I think it's interesting, those gems. You know, there are definitely gems from ancient literature, as you point out, right? So mathematical gems, at least there's one field. And I think that that's quite interesting because, you know, it's when I think of arguments, right, that people still use, right, mathematics, the argument from mathematics is still one, which is, you know, it doesn't matter how many times I hear it, I still think it's rubbish, but it is still at least one of the better arguments for God that I hear, right?
Well, for ancient manuscripts.
Well, for the Platonism, right? I mean, let's face it, it means you have to answer that question at least, even if you come up with a reason that doesn't involve God. God is a plausible explanation for the existence of, you know, the forms, for instance, for geometric forms.
I see. Yeah.
See where I'm going with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Although, you know, I don't know, for the life of me, I've never heard John Lennox use it. So it goes to show you what a real mathematician thinks about it. But there we go.
Either that or they're too busy with the maths.
Yeah. I just want to read this out. Marcel, you say the Iliad and the Odyssey are gems from the past.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree. Again, bloody Christians destroying the theatre works, all of the plays, etc.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a list in Baghdad. There was a list in the Baghdad library that contained over 400 titles, and we only have 70.
Oh wow!
There is another seemingly, well, to me, obvious value in ancient texts like the Iliad and a lot of the ancient Greek myths and, well, just mythology in general, really. And that's storytelling.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you look at more, well, pretty much anything, and you will see somewhere, if you dig deep enough, you'll see that it has themes in common with stories that were told in antiquity. Unless obviously it's to do with modern artifacts like typewriters, keyboards, skyscrapers and shit. But the actual human story, it is more than likely a retelling of something that is ancient. Because we don't really change, not our inner selves, that much, really.
No, I also enjoy the desire to understand the human condition and how like philosophical thought in general. I enjoy that in the past as well as I do today. Like, you know, there's got to be some gems there too. I'm not super well versed on the philosophy I'm not super well versed on much philosophy other than how I think of things myself, but I'm told I'm told some of my ideas are pretty good from prominent philosophers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're watching a good film, let's say a good retelling of Jason and the Argonauts, if it's told well, you'll find yourself empathizing in certain situations with the character in the story.
That was the point of Homer, was to find a character you relate with, and relate to that character, right?
That's the art of a good storyteller, is to find stories you can relate to, because you're going to remember it. And if you remember it, then if there is any lesson in the story, then you're likely to remember that as well. Like, even if it's something ridiculous, like, okay, I must remember to let the water actually fill the car before I try and open the door if I drive into a river, or something like that. You know, that was something I got from Miami Vice. Never forgot it.
I mean, parables have always been a great way to teach a moral or lesson, or a lesson in general, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a moral lesson. It can be just a practical one, like I just relayed. But you'll find that most stories that get told will teach, or try to teach, or offer some lesson or other, either about the human condition or how to solve a problem.
At least good ones will.
Well, I mean, otherwise they wouldn't make any money, would they?
Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna
people
say
would
that's why
want
they
it,
get passed down.
and the reason for that is because we are a species that enjoys a good story, and that's because we spent so many generations where that was the main method of education, because we didn't write things down, we didn't know how to. So we told stories round a fire.
Yeah, certainly in Northern Europe, that's for sure.
Well, in Africa
Our
as well.
particular ancestors didn't at that time, but yeah.
I mean, the discovery of fire goes back to, well, I wish Dave was still here, because he'd know.
Who knows when?
I know how I can find out.
Yeah, okay. Good luck with that.
Let me just roll this and I will.
I looked into that, and I'm pretty sure we don't know when fire was first used. In fact, but it wasn't even by humans. I mean, you know.
Well, I was going to say it was one of our special ancestors. It was something like Homo habilis or something.
Well, they go back a million years. So
some type of Homo.
Yeah, I know it's something ridiculous, because the reason I mention it is because it was in one of the plethora of videos.
No, there was.
Drowned my brain in.
That's because they're very talented.
Hang on.
Anyway, whatever. I don't know what point. Just make the point, because it doesn't matter exactly when we first started using fire, or which particular Homo.
I'm just going to find out.
Fire.
Okay. Early hominins around 2 million years ago.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
There you go. So that's how long we've been sitting around fires talking about shit.
Kind of impressed.
Or grunting about shit, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, grunting.
I'm sure there was language back then. I'm willing to bet many civilizations rose and fell in the last 2 million years. So there's just no way to prove that, right?
I feel like there probably was language going back that far. Yeah, there wasn't.
That would have been all lost to time and dust.
Yeah, and the first evidence is of controlled use of fire is Homo erectus, and it's 1.7 million years, or up to 1.7 million years ago, and they found evidence of it in sites like the Daughters of Jacob Bridge in Israel.
Oh wow! That's
there you go. Regular cooking and fire use.
Interesting.
At least 800,000 years.
So it could have been Moses.
Moses definitely knew how to use fire. Yes.
Yeah. He knew how to start the ocean too.
He certainly did, yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Just checking. So what was the
So,
point
yeah,
you were
the
making with
reasons
that?
why fire mattered. Warmth and
right.
protection from predators, cooking, which made food more digestible and nutritious, tool making, like heat treating stone and rope and twine, and social bonding.
It also helps like to teach the idea of the future, because before we could cook and preserve food, we had to have it now. We couldn't there was no idea of preserving it for later, so there was no idea of worrying about the future. Everything was now.
The notion of looking out or projecting into the future self and providing for the future goes back to a very, very long way. I don't know the exact time scale, but it was one of the reasons that we were able to leave Africa.
Yes,
because we were able to.
Maybe part in that. I'm not saying it's
the archaeological find was buried eggs, ostrich eggs, that were used for preserving water, knowing that we're going to come back this way soon and we're going to need water.
That's really cool. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the reasons that we were able to actually cross the desert and leave Africa.
Yeah, I think monkeys do it as well.
Yeah, we got a lot from them.
It was one of the hominins.
I was gonna say I had a cat
actual
that
monkeys.
knew.
Actual monkeys do it. Yeah.
Well, like I had a cat that would like bring home stuff that was like mostly dead, but like it couldn't run away, and like that's nature's refrigerator. Like it doesn't start to decay until it dies, but if you break all of its legs,
it's also do it for social reasons.
Yes,
yeah. But I'm just saying, like I don't think that like that's necessarily like just a human thing. Like other animals do that.
No. Your cat was bringing you that stuff.
Yeah.
Sitting there and staring at you, and in its best Mortal Kombat voice said, "Finish him."
Oh no! Yeah. She would bring it, and I would be like, "No, thank you." And she would be like, "Oh, you don't want it? Okay." And then she would sit there and scarf it down, except for the legs and the tail. She would leave their fucking feet and
it's all
tail.
bones and cartilage. Come on.
Be like, okay.
You don't know where those feet have been.
Or when she was kind of full, she would just eat the head. She'd be like, "I'm just doing the head tonight. This is all I'm hungry for." She was a mean, evil cat, but yeah.
We've moved on to cats. So
sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's well known.
I don't know if he knew this, but Hitler had a cat.
Well, Hitler wasn't all bad. At least he killed Hitler.
He did, and he also loved his dogs as well. And apparently he could move a brush around a canvas.
Yeah.
I remember people calling me that he's a vegetarian. Like,
sorry. I have to defend the vegetarians here. He was an on and off vegetarian.
Whatever. Like, I don't think that makes you a good or bad person. In my mind, the only good thing that he ever did in his life was to kill Hitler. Like,
yeah. And I didn't mean to defend vegetarians here. Yeah, you can't put him solely in that.
What's that law of the internet that we've just broken? Godwin's law?
Yeah, Godwin's law.
Yeah, so I think that means we're probably done. So I'm going to go round and let everybody have some last words. And then I will let Simos take us out, because I know he probably wants to get to bed. I know I do.
It's probably late there.
So, yes, it's coming up for 12:30. Midnight. So Ella, any final thoughts on the questions we've been contemplating and chewing the fat over this evening?
I don't think that you can say that myths are all good or all bad. I don't think you can even say a singular myth is all good or all bad. It's all in how you implement it and how you use it.
Okay. Marcel.
Yeah. I'll say thank you for letting me come on.
Pleasure having you.
That was delivered weird. I would agree with Ella on this. I tend to think that there is no good or bad. There are only tools and lessons. Can you use the tools delivered to you, and can you learn the lesson from the things that happen? So again, all myths. There is no all myths. There is no myth that's all good or all bad. Is basically what I'm reiterating.
Okay, Headless. And
when you find similarities between two works, you got to sit down and ask yourself, is it just the structures of storytelling? Because if you look closely at it, all 9 Star Wars movies are the same story.
More or less.
The pieces are just rearranged.
Yeah, that's a good observation there, Headless. Simos.
The hero's journey. We've been.
Have we done everybody? Have we?
It's only you, Fabio, and me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll do. I'll go last if I may.
Okay, you go last, Fabio.
Yeah, I mean, myths are stories. So depending on how old they are, you can call them myth, but they're still stories. So yeah, I don't see too much into it. Usually, people which see a lot into it, they're doing something wrong or use them for their own benefit for some other reason. But yeah, I mean, it's if you really look into it, you can trace back every story to. I mean, depending on who you ask, it will say the 3, 7, or 9 major archetypes, and the same kind of story which repeats themselves. So yeah, I mean, I would call them stories. So I don't see too much value into them besides the fact that they are maybe like a mirror of the society that they were born into, but nothing more.
I can't hear you.
You got yourself muted, Brian.
Yeah, there you go. That shows you how much I need to go to bed. My brain's forgetting that I've turned the mic off. I don't really have a lot to add because I feel I've probably spoken too much this evening already. So you're probably bored with my voice. But do I think there's any usefulness in ancient manuscripts? Again, I'd have to say it depends on the manuscript. If it still holds truth value, then yes, it still has some value, regardless whether that truth value is mathematical or helping somebody deal with one of the many complex issues that comes with being human. And yes, it reflects in stories, and yes, we're storytellers. We have been for millennia. Beyond history, we've been storytellers, and yeah, if it's meaningful, if it's teaches something, then yeah, it has value. And that's where I get off the bike. Simos.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I missed what Fabio said. So sorry, Fabio. So if I repeat anything, I'm sorry. Yeah, like I mean, does it have any value? Of course, it has value. It has historical value. It has value for those that think that it's true, right? Because it's old, and then all you can do is go to other documents that have similar claims and go, "Oh, look, you don't believe these claims." So it has that kind of value for debunking conspiracy theories about history. And then secondly, it's a huge moneymaker. A lot of books written about ancient manuscripts. A lot of my dear friends have studied ancient manuscripts and find them absolutely fascinating, as I do. I love history. Why do I love history? Well, I think I love history mainly because at least we can try to learn from it and not repeat the same mistakes. I don't know how many times I've heard that, and I would say it's probably a mistake to keep saying it because we don't seem to learn. That's all I'm really going to say. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week. All the links are down below. And yeah, to those of you in chat, yeah, I don't know, play stupid games, get stupid prizes.
Watch the skies.
That is the lesson to learn from ancient manuscripts. So thank you very much. Go on.
Watch the
Brian.
skies.